The Ghost Chamber. The Tarkin Institute for Parapsychology was a temple of cold reason. Its walls were white, its floor silent, and its studies relied on EEG monitors and electromagnetic field detectors. Dr. Eris Thorne, its lead researcher, prided herself on this rigor. She had spent a decade debunking hauntings as drafts, infrasound, and overactive imaginations. Her newest acquisition threatened to undo it all. It was a simple, windowless antechamber, painstakingly deconstructed from a demolished Victorian asylum and rebuilt inside her lab's high-security wing. They called it the Ghost Chamber. It wasn't haunted by a ghost. It was haunted by a procedure. The historical record was chillingly specific. Room 7B had been used for therapeutic immersion for patients with severe phobias. A claustrophobe would be locked in the lightless room until their screams subsided into whimpers. An acrophobe would be forced to stand on a platform that simulated the feeling of terrifying height through disorienting sound and air pressure. The treatment was the controlled, repeated administration of pure terror. The room itself, the theory went, had absorbed the procedure's blueprint. Eris's plan was to document the absence of phenomena. She would be the final scientific nail in its coffin. The first control subject, a calm undergraduate named Leo, was sealed inside for 1 hour. Sensors tracked his vitals, his brainwaves, the room's environment. For 59 minutes, nothing. Leo's readout showed mild boredom. On the audio feed, he hummed. Then, in the 60th minute, his EEG spiked into a pattern seen only in subjects experiencing profound primal dread. His heartbeat tripled. On the microphone, he began to hyperventilate. "Dr. Thorne?" His voice crackled, thin with panic. "The ceiling, it's crushing. I can feel it pressing on my chest. I can't breathe." There was no ceiling movement. The sensors showed stable air pressure. "Leo, it's not real," Eris said, her voice cool over the intercom. "It's a psychosomatic response triggered by the historical context. Maintain composure." But Leo was screaming now, a raw, scraping sound of someone being buried alive. He clawed at the smooth, featureless door. When the hour ended and the door hissed open, he collapsed into a fetal position, weeping, insisting the room had shrunk to the size of a coffin. He was diagnosed with a sudden onset panic disorder. Eris noted it as an unfortunate but explainable hysterical reaction. The second subject was a former rock climber named Maya, who had no fear of heights. Her hour passed in silence until the final moments. Then she began to shriek, flailing against an invisible force, scrabbling with her feet as if dangling from a great height. "The ledge, it's giving way, don't let me fall." Her physiological data mirrored someone in catastrophic freefall. She emerged with 2 broken fingernails and a dislocated shoulder from fighting a non-existent plunge. Eris's certainty began to crack. The chamber wasn't manifesting ghosts. It was executing a protocol. It had identified its occupant and was running the specific terror program they were most susceptible to, pulling their deepest, most secret fear from their own psyche and making them feel it as inescapable reality. Her colleagues voted to seal the chamber. Eris refused. The ultimate control subject, she argued, was a skeptic with no known phobias, herself. Dressed in a sensor-lined suit, she entered the chamber, the door sealed with a sound like a tomb. The air was still, senseless. She monitored her own steady rhythms on a wrist display. "See," she thought, "procedure requires a subject with a vulnerability. I have none." For 58 minutes, she recorded perfect baselines. She allowed herself a thin smile of victory. Then, at 59 minutes, her wrist display flickered and died. A profound silence descended, deeper than an absence of sound, an absence of self. She felt a terrifying unraveling. A voice, not in the room, but in the fabric of her consciousness, spoke. It was the chamber's voice, the crystallized echo of 1,000 administered horrors. It did not show her a monster. It showed her evidence. It showed her with perfect, logical clarity the data from Leo and Maya's sessions, reinterpreted. It wasn't hysteria. It was a measurable energy transfer, a new physics of fear. It showed her the future, her life's work of debunking exposed as a monumental, arrogant error. It showed her colleagues' faces, etched in pity and contempt. It showed her name in textbooks, not as a pioneer, but as a footnote of folly. The scientist who had the key to a new reality and threw it away because it didn't fit her spreadsheet. It presented her with the one terror her rational mind could not defend against, the terror of being irrevocably, humiliatingly wrong. She felt the crushing weight of true emptiness, the existential claustrophobia of a meaningless universe. She felt the dizzying plunge of a reputation in freefall. The chamber wasn't simulating a fear. It was proving, logically and intimately, that her core identity was a sham. When her team overrode the door, they found her standing perfectly still, eyes wide open. She was catatonic. Her vitals were normal, but her brainwaves, the monitors showed, were locked in a permanent, looping pattern of devastating, inescapable insight. The ghost chamber was sealed with reinforced steel and concrete. The official report cited a toxic mold release causing shared psychosis. But sometimes, late at night, the security guards make wide circles around that wing. They swear they can hear, through tons of concrete, not screams, but the sound of someone perfectly, silently, rationally shattering.